Hi, everybody. This is slightly different from what we normally do here, but I really felt like we could not start a show with anything other than talking about the demise of Deadspin. Because I don't know about you, D, but Deadspin is like probably 80% of my influence in the concept of this show in the first place.
I didn't know anything about Deadspin until I saw you showing me articles and you giggling at articles and stuff, and I was just like, man, what is this site, man? That's cool.
And a brief shout out, the other 20% of my inspiration, probably more than that. I would say it's 80% and 80%.
I was more of a Bleacher Report guy, but it was a nice change of pace.
My other massive inspiration, just to briefly aside, is the wonderfully hilarious and sadly now no longer existent Cespedes Family Barbacast, which is run by two guys that actually, from that podcast, freaking got jobs at MLB. And they actually work with the MLB social media team now. So a happy ending, even though their amazing podcast is no longer, but
at least led them to some to an upward trajectory. So that's a good thing.
But very much the style of random weird humor and sports references is that's straight from that show. And from Deadspin, which is what we're actually talking about here. Yeah, I don't know, man. I got really, really upset when that news broke because it was a website that I read every day for 6 years. And it's sort of at a time when I'd gotten very frustrated and disillusioned with sports fandom in general. It was sort of just a breath of fresh air, and sort of mainstream sports media, such as it is, the sort of Peter King leak. Peter King is so much less a journalist and more a paid content advertiser for the NFL. You know what I mean? He doesn't really criticize them. I'm singling him out, but, when you look at how, sports is covered by large companies like ESPN, who profits off of the sports existing and therefore has incentive to make them look good,
I still think that guy from the watches, the basketball guy who got the watches and stuff, I think he was with something with the advertisement on his Twitter or something.
Oh, yeah. SpawnCon. But it just gets frustrating at times because you feel things are not being covered fairly, or maybe as they should. And,
it's in a box.
Yeah.
It's micromanaged.
Because honestly, as much as I enjoyed their, humorous posts and, their various roundups of, poop stories at the end of the year and stuff like that. And honestly, it was the writings of, Diana Moskovitz, who did a lot of the reporting on, Larry Nassar and, the Greg Hardy case and a bunch of other ones, kind of depressingly, her specialty was kind of doing these deep dives on a lot of these really fucked up cases. So good on her for being able to mentally handle that, because I don't think I could.
Yeah.
But things like that were not, I honestly think really weren't being reported on, and it's much more commonplace now. And I don't know. I feel that site, and not just Deadspin, but that sort of new wave of sports blogging really popularized turning a critical eye to what we're seeing and not always, taking it at face value. And they did a great job covering Aaron Hernandez back in the day, and covering Ray Rice and Colin Kaepernick, and a lot of these kind of big stories that really become bigger than sports when they break, that is more than what's just going on in the field. Because what happens when those things go on, you tune into Sunday Night Football, and Al Michaels will either not mention it at all, or he'll very briefly bring up something in the, sort of pregame talk around, and then be and we're back to football. And then just, it's just gone.
I mean, that's kind of like the entertainment business, though.
Right.
People don't want to tune in for topics that make them uncomfortable.
Right. And it's that old thing where entertainment and journalism are not the same thing and shouldn't be treated as such.
I mean, they can be, though. And I think that's what like Deadspin was.
Right.
That's what like to me. It's like it's like they took things seriously, but also they also had like a sense of humor too, and they felt like they didn't have like these hard boundary lines they had to stay within, you know?
And I mean, you can go read about it, and I'll put links to the articles in the show notes, but just a brief summary of what happened is so years ago now, Gawker, which was the company that owned, or Gawker Media Group, I guess, which owned Gawker and Deadspin and IO9 and frickin' Kotaku and Jezebel and all these other great blogs kind of all under that umbrella.
And then Hogan killed it, right?
Yeah. Paul Hogan. Wow.
Paul Hogan?
Not Paul Hogan. Hulk Hogan's lawsuit, funded by billionaire Peter Thiel, which sets a whole other disturbing precedent for rich people silencing the media. Bankrupted them, and so they were sold off, and they were owned by like Univision for a little while, and then this Spanfeller bought it, and his background is he used to run Forbes, which, I mean, you know, Forbes is a website, I guess. I don't know. But when he took over, he immediately closed Splinter, which was the politics blog, so that should tell you something.
Yeah.
And the stick to sports thing, that was the thing they joked about for years, because typically that's when Colin Kaepernick first did the protests, that was the common refrain of like conservative commentators of him was stick to sports, shut up and dribble, or whatever. You know?
I was thinking that you brought that up. Yeah.
Well, you're just a professional athlete. What what makes you qualified to talk about politics?
He's our modern day Michael Jordan.
But obviously, you know, if an athlete like, say, Curt Schilling speaks out about politics in a conservative light, they're all like, yeah, this guy knows what he's talking about. Anyway, double standards. But,
yep.
So this guy bought the site and pretty much repeatedly clashed with the staff and did a lot of things that most likely are against their union contract, because the writers of the site had a union and they had things explicitly defined in the union contract. Management, ownership cannot dictate the editorial direction of the site, and they cannot take posts down after they've been posted.
They had the union. Oh, nice.
Both of those things happened while Spanfeller owned the site. So, go figure. And again, go read the articles if you want the particulars of it. But basically, this all came to a head when the site's editor-in-chief left earlier this year, basically because of this. She was just like, I can't in good conscience do this anymore. If this is what they're forcing us to do, so I'm gone. And it takes guts to quit in an industry where there's not a lot of jobs. And
I'm sure she'll be able to find a new one, though, especially if she's like editor-in-chief.
No, they're all, I mean, they had a lot of talented writers, and they're all going to fall in at other sites. But
yeah.
And then they fired her replacement. Megan Greenwell is her name, the original editor-in-chief. They fired her replacement, and that was the point at which the entire staff, as a show of solidarity, quit. And they all resigned the same day and did it as a group and said, all right, fuck it. If you're not going to let us do it our way, we're out.
But they're under contract too, so they should be able to do it, right? Didn't you say like they had a union, it was in their contract to not mess with that stuff?
Yeah. Doesn't matter, really. I mean, because what happens? You have to take that to court. And what's going to happen? That's going to take years.
And the money normally wins.
Right.
The person with the most money.
And can you fund a lawsuit when you don't have a job?
You can't.
Right. That's what happens. That's why Peter Thiel can shut down a media organization, but I can't.
But the thing about it is, I think, too, is like, This is the sad thing is, I guess eventually he'll get replacement writers and stuff, but then the quality will break down, and then
So
yeah,
that's where it gets interesting because basically the only guy left and who's from the parent company was like for a week writing posts himself. Apparently some of the writers on Twitter were saying that he was pulling old freelancer posts they had archived out of Mothball and posting those as new content.
Ooh.
And just because literally it was one guy trying to run the site by himself.
You can't do that.
And then he quit.
Of course, because he got too much work.
To what he claimed was pursue an entrepreneurial opportunity. So
yeah, if he's doing stuff himself, he might as well just work for himself.
Right. So as of right now, if you go to Deadspin.com, there has not been anything posted since the 4th of November, and it is now November 7th when we're recording this. So in all likelihood, the site's dead. And what will likely happen is either
interns.
He'll either skeleton staff it, but none of the site's former readers are going to read it because we're not strike breakers and scabs.
So what you're saying,
we're not going to cross a fucking picket line.
So what you're saying is this site is going to die.
It's already dead.
It's dead. It's not coming back.
No.
So you don't think people will come for and will work for them just because they have the Deadspin name, or is that name's just so terribly tarnished to the point of beyond repair?
Well, that's the story. He also brought in that freelancer Alan Goldshire, who absolutely got annihilated on Twitter to the point where a few hours later he resigned from the site because
I think it said an hour or less than an hour, 40 minutes.
Someone went. In addition to all that, someone went, and that was why I used that phrasing a minute ago. Someone went and edited his Wikipedia page to say Alan Goldshire is a strikebreaker and a scab, which is just brutal.
So did he originally work for Deadspin?
Or no. He was a freelancer that was basically brought in to scab for the writers that quit.
Oh,
so yeah,
be a temp.
Yeah.
Oh.
Obviously, it'd be great if all of those writers just went and founded their own site. I doubt that's going to happen, but it's just it's sad.
Hook up with Warren Buffett or something. Who's the guy? Something Buffett. What's his name?
Warren Buffett.
Yeah, that's Warren Buffett. Yeah, that guy. I had it right the first time.
I don't know that Warren Buffett cares about getting into the sports media business. Obviously,
I mean, he was friends with LeBron James, so who knows?
Obviously, what will happen is The Athletic will open, a site called Living Straight Line or something, and they'll hire all the Deadspin staff because they have so much money. They have so much investment capital, they can just swallow all light and hope in the universe.
Is it going to be Khan from the Jacksonville Jaguars Funding AEW?
Oh my god!
And giving WWE competition?
No, dude.
Deadspin was awesome.
Yeah.
It was more your site that you went, your go-to site, and my girlfriend also loved going to that site. I would go there from time to time. I mean, I'm a Bleacher Report guy. But all the funny, the funny titles, and they go in and read and stuff, why your team sucks, and this person is just not a good quarterback, or hey, this happened here. I mean, I would have loved to see what they would have written about the black cat running in the end zone of Monday Night Football, but we don't have that because people were clever and intellectual with their writing styles.
Yeah. And some of the other they just had some really talented people working there. One of the other random things, that video that went viral of all of the different local news stations all reading a friggin' prepared statement from the goddamn Trump administration about fake news, where they literally all read the same wording in the same cadence, and they just tiled it all on one video. I'll put that in the show notes too if it's still out there. But that was a Deadspin video editor that made that.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's just sad. I don't know. That day I was upset enough that I was just you know what? If I can't have Deadspin, then I'm just done being a sports fan. That's how upset I got.
Dang.
And I just hate rich people, and I hope everything that they've built burns.
Well, the thing about sports, though, people would go from one, like, especially the talented people. Like, I guess I hate it for, like, people who were just getting started there. So imagine, like, newer faces there who didn't have, like, I guess, what's the thing I'm thinking of? Like, have built up, like, equity or a good base there. Have
seniority,
like, seniority. Yeah, built a strong resume there. Like, I worry about those people, but, like, if you're talented, you're gonna go to like another place. I mean, think about like when like this is not really the most greatest comparison because like ESPN is really big, but imagine when like they're making their layoffs and then like one of the people they let go or cut or didn't or I guess was trying to lowball like Mike Tirico, who was really good on Monday Night Football. He said okay. And then he just hopped right on NBC.
Yep.
And he's been doing his thing ever since. And then and it took them and they're respectable now with their Monday Night Football, but imagine with their commentating staff, but their commentating staff is not what it used to be since he left. So think about that.
Yeah.
So if you got the talent, you're gonna be picked up by somewhere else because you got the name stuff, like you got the name, and then you got your skill set.
Yeah. And I'll simply say this. I know none of you come here to hear me rant about politics, but I think that this situation proves that workers have a lot more power than they think. Do with that information what you will.
Oh, yeah.
Join a fucking union.
R.I.P. Deadspin.
Yep. R.I.P. You were one of the good ones. Fuck rich people.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, all around the world, we introduce you to another ripping edition of the Dan vs. D Sports and Stuff podcast with the initials DVD, as in DVD player. I'm your player, D with 2 E's, and always by my side is
Dan with an A-N.
And Dan, the man he can. And he's like wearing workers safety glasses or something.
I'm wearing safety goggles because it might get sharp in here.
Dude, that's pretty cool.
I'm going to start a new website called Deadspin.
Yo, I like it.
And it's going to be me spinning. We are, as always, kicking it in the DVD dome in my office here in my apartment.
I like that, the DVD dome.
Yeah. Yeah, my bad, by the way, about those episodes that didn't get posted until months after they were recorded. Sorry, depression really sucks. I'll try to do better next time.
Adulthood sucks, man.
And adulthood
30-year-old, right? You were like guys, like literally like 30 respectively, just working.
Yeah.
Doing this and that, working, doing this and that, and working, this and that.
But I don't want to say what they are, but I've put some new tools in place that I think will help the editing process in the future.
Word.
But anyway, the Nationals won the World Series.
Woo! First in franchise history.
That's a big one.
Not to mention, this is the first Washington team that I have seen in recent memory to not suck.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the Capitals won the.
Oh yeah, that's right. The Capitals. That was a long time coming too. So we just seen two playoff / finals droughts and now if their NBA and their NFL counterparts could just get their shit together, maybe they could do something. But that's not going to happen.
Maybe we'll get there eventually in this episode, but Washington's football team is the worst run organization in sports, so that is not going to happen.
Yeah.
But anyway, Nationals. We should focus on the Nationals because they're amazing. And what was crazy about that series was
Astros had it.
Well, the road team winning every game.
They did exactly what Toronto did to the Warriors.
Oh, yeah, right. Toronto closed it out in Oracle, didn't they?
Yes.
Yeah. It's kind of weird. It's always weird. It's always weird when the road team clinches the championship because it's like, the celebration's kind of muted.
I remember when and then everybody's like, pissed off at you because
right.
I remember when like Michael Jordan, like for his final championship with the, with the Bulls, the infamous, infamous like forceful check.
The shove.
Yeah, the shove on Brian Russell. That was an epic moment, but he kind of cheated on that one. But they celebrated on the Jazz's home floor. It's just like,
it's a little weird.
I mean, if I was a fan like that, I mean, I guess I would stick, even though it's like my team like didn't win, I would still stick around because like I'm witnessing literally history. I mean, who wouldn't?
I would.
Like that was regarded as like supposed to be like Michael Jordan's like riding the sunset. Then he became like a president or something of the Wizards. Then he got that bug and played like another season for some reason.
Yeah,
but like. That's witnessing history there, like, and I think you told me like this was probably likely their one shot, and if they didn't win it, then they probably would not going to get here ever again.
So when you think back, because remember they drafted. It's hard to believe, but they drafted Strasburg and Harper number 1 back-to-back, I believe, in 2009 and 10. Something like that.
Bryce Harper, man.
So, I mean, in a sense, this is literally 10 years in the making for one.
Strasburg.
And remember, Strasburg came up and then pitched really well and had Tommy John.
That's right. He did have Tommy John. Like, it seemed like every pitcher like eventually gets Tommy John.
And he came back the next season in 2012, and that's when they shut him down before the end of the season because he was on an inning count.
I thought it just meant they were going to shut him down for like the regular season, but I was like, why are they making such a big deal? He's just going to be in the playoffs. I'm like, he's not even pitching in the playoffs.
And
I think that might have costed them in their that run right there.
The narrative that them shutting Steven Strasburg down definitely made them lose that playoff series is not entirely accurate.
Not entirely accurate, but it didn't help.
It certainly didn't help. We'll never know whether it cost them or not because we literally don't have the power to see alternate universes.
Yeah, because remember, like you said, in baseball, like it takes more than one player to to win a game, let alone a series.
Yeah, and case in point, the Nationals this year subtracted Bryce Harper and got better somehow. So,
because
put that in your pipe and smoke it.
I think guys were just hungry. Yeah. It helped. It strapped them less for cash, so they were able to like invest that money into like other parts.
Yeah,
maybe not get a mega star, but like, hey, get like some good quality talent, good quality pieces. Try to mold it together.
Howie Kendrick for one.
Yeah.
And I mean, Anthony Rendon also continued to develop into a superstar that he is. And they have Anthony Rendon.
Yeah.
And also, I mean, they were in the enviable position where they have Juan Soto, who's one of the best young players in the game. And so we're able to say, all right, you're getting better and better each year. So we're just going to count on some of your increased production making up for what Bryce left.
And then, didn't a year before, they got Scherzer?
Yeah, they signed him 2 or 3 years ago, something like that. They had Scherzer. So, I mean,
So they were building.
Yeah. But, their competitive window was sort of considered to have opened in 2012. And that's a team that's over the last few years has just had a lot of playoff heartbreaks and a lot of so closes. And really, I think people consider that their window to be closing.
Yeah. Strasburg just opted out.
Especially this year. I mean, they're on average the oldest team in baseball, this year. So, they do have some good young players, but, Anthony Rendon's a free agent. He may not come back.
Strasburg just opted out.
Right. Yeah. He opted out of his deal. So
he's
probably not coming back either. And it was the right thing for him to do because go get paid, buddy.
Get your money.
But a great it's always nice when you sort of see a squad kind of finally break through like that.
It's like the Marlins.
Yeah.
Like just like an improbable team winning it. Or finally Toronto breaking through. It seems like the last few years, unless it's the NFL and the New England Patriots. Like even then, like a couple years ago, we're not too far removed from the Eagles finally, like in their drought of never winning the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Like them, the Capitals, the Nationals.
Think about, remember the Donovan McNabb Eagles where they played and lost 4 consecutive NFC Championship games?
Man,
it was like...
They outbills the Bills.
I think it was... Oh, no, I'm sorry. No, they won the last one, and that was 2004 when they went to the Super Bowl and lost to the Patriots.
They beat Michael Vick's, Falcons to get there.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, like, another team that kind of... But, they had to basically go through a completely different era to get that ring finally. So, anyways, yeah, it's just kind of cool when like
Raptors,
when you see a squad kind of the Raptors is a good example.
Yeah, so
a squad kind of get their lumps and sort of just keep hitting their head against the wall every year, and then finally actually succeed because
all they needed was a superstar in Kawhi Leonard.
Right. Honestly, man, normally in normal life, how that ultimately plays out is basically what's going to happen to the Trailblazers. You're just going to be kind of good for a few years and then kind of start to decline and then you're rebuilding again.
Well, here's the thing though. I'll tell you who's going to be good, the Thunder, because like they actually are competitive. Yeah. I mean, I guess that helps because you have Chris Paul, but like they're actually competitive. So they're not going to be like extreme tanking team.
Yeah.
Like as people thought they would be like, be a dumpster fire. I think the scores of games that I've seen them in, like they've been competitive. I think they actually beat the Rockets when they played.
And I mean, you know what? That's a squad that we'll see, but that's a squad that amassed a butt-ass ton of draft picks.
They got a bunch of draft picks. They still have like a former All-Star and they could make the playoffs, as an 8 seed. Who knows? And plus, who's to say they can't get the number 1 overall pick because the draft lottery is,
who the hell knows?
Just give it to the worst team, I guess. Why do they do that?
It's supposed to stop tanking, but teams tank anyway. And in fact, it's even worse. So just
the Pelicans should have never had Zion, but.
Whatever.
But it was good for him. I honestly think that might have been rigged a little bit because they are a small market team and they needed somebody to fill that void of Anthony Davis. I wouldn't be surprised if that's the conspiracy and that turned out to somehow be true. But I digress.
Anyway, we'll get to that in the NBA segment.
Yeah. But this is the Nationals moment, man. And it's just amazing. I guess I sort of feel I feel sorry for Bryce Harper. I mean, he went and got paid. You can't feel too sorry for somebody who went out to get paid because
who went and got $300 whatever $million.
Yeah, so I can't fault him for that. But it's like you leaving a team and then it's not necessarily saying the team was better without you, but.
Technically,
They've reached the promised land. In some of those games, say if you had Bryce Harper up to bat during one of those games where they were getting when the Astros were mopping the floor with them on some of those blowout games, Bryce Harper could have came in handy. But I guess because of him, they had a more balanced team because of, I guess, the salary cap and stuff. But boy, does it suck! You leave a team for the money. And then before you know it, then the following year, they win the whole thing, something that you were looking for. So far throughout your whole career thus far. And they win the chip.
But you know what? The conventional wisdom was that the Astros were kind of trending down and the Phillies were trending up. So, coming into this season, we probably would have been it was kind of a smart move if he's also trying to chase winning. But
the Phillies they had potential, but they weren't there yet. And it could have went either way.
No, but it's a team with a lot of young, talented players and, sort of not a much, much less talented version of the Braves. Really just all right, we've got a lot of potential.
Potential is only potential until it becomes kinetic energy, man.
No, and... you always see this with any young player, really in any sport. At some there's a point where a guy stops being a guy with potential and just is what he is. But, that's why it's so cool. Yeah, this is how I can spin it back to the Nationals. That's why it's so cool to see a guy like Howie Kendrick having all that success in the playoffs at age 36 or whatever. Because
in baseball, you can do that though.
Well, you can absolutely get hot in small sample sizes in baseball.
I mean, you can be old and still be productive.
But that dude, he's just been a solid player his whole career, just someone who was going to play for 10, 12 years and then basically instantly be forgotten when they retire. And because of what he did these last couple weeks, he'll be remembered forever by those fans.
Who's that guy? Who's that guy from the Cubs, that won a World Series and I think retired and worked for ESPN or something?
David Ross.
Yes.
Grandpa Rossi.
Yeah, because when he 40 when he retired or something?
Yeah, he became their manager.
Oh yeah,
they just hired him as their
manager.
Right.
So
there you go. Sip on that.
So you can kind of maybe not your physical peak, but you can peak in terms of I guess getting the chip in a much older age.
Oh, absolutely.
While also playing instead of riding a bench.
Yeah.
That's pretty awesome. That's one of the few I think that's the only sport I can think of that that players can actually do that. Be in their high 30s and can still produce and create a World Series moment that helps pushes their team over the hump, man.
Yeah. Well, Barry Bonds was still raking when he was 39, so
He was still raking?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, does that come with an asterisk?
I think we know that it does.
I like Barry Bonds. And his bald head.
Barry Bonds could roll out of bed today and hit line drives. That dude was a absurdly naturally talented hitter. Let's not get confused.
I wonder what he's up to now, though.
Remember, he came back and was the hitting coach of the Marlins for one weird season, and then kind of just moved on.
Yeah,
but that's the last I've heard of him. And that was only 2 years ago, I think. Anyway.
He probably has a better life than McGuire and Sosa.
Yeah. Poor Sammy. Sammy hit a friggin' brick wall.
Yeah, and then he bleached his skin, and then he's yeah, I didn't. He's like, did you take steroids or do any performance enhancing drugs? Not on U.S. soil.
No. He said, I never failed a drug test. And Jeremy Schaap said, did you take steroids? And he said, I never failed a drug test.
I'm here so I don't get fined.
I love that. I love when... Man.
It's pretty much that.
Yeah.
Because that way, people could take that sentence and just spin it any way they want to, but as long as they're not your words, they truly can't be the most damaging towards you because they didn't come out of your mouth.
No, what all those guys... Dude, what all those guys should have done is they should have done the Trump playbook, which is I didn't do it, but if I did do it, it wasn't a crime. And if it was a crime, then the other guy did it.
Or be like O.J. Simpson, if I did it.
Right. Yeah.
Oh, gosh.
I did it. Anyway, let's move on.
Oh, my gosh, you singing Britney Spears?
No, that was
I did it again.
I was singing the Dave Matthews Band.
Ooh.
Because I'm very, very white.
Yes.
Remember
one time I was singing I think earlier today I was singing the 7th Floor Crew. G-Reg.
Shout out to G-Reg who's on my fantasy team.
Man.
Before we can do anything, we need to pivot to the NFL and talk about some bad football teams, specifically the Browns. Bro, Browns are a bad football team. They're not a team. Speaking of potential, they're not a team with potential. They're just bad. What the hell did I say before the damn season started? They're bad.
What did I say about the NFL hype being the most dangerous, being the most dangerous thing in sports? Football is full of so many variables. The media, I guess, the media is most to blame for this, but also the actual team just underperforming for expectations. For expectations. they were Super Bowl contenders according to the media. Like I said in like a couple of previous episodes, like pump the brakes. They haven't won. They haven't even been to the playoffs. I think since like 2000, maybe 2001. They have had like
2002.
2002. They've had what?
Or no, actually, they. Oh, keep going.
Yeah, you can look that up. But like, they've had like what? Over 20 plus. I think there might be at 30 now. Like, or at least close to to 30 in terms of both like. A bunch, all those starting quarterbacks, over 20 different starting quarterbacks. They haven't landed on one. You have a quarterback that has majorly regressed. You got a coach that doesn't know what they're doing. They have a transcendent talent, an OBJ, and they're not using them. They cannot play, they can't play defense very well. They cannot play offense very well. They're not beating the teams they're supposed to beat. You lose to a Broncos team recently that did not even have Joe Flacco have their starting quarterback, and they still messed around and lost in convincing fashion. And they're 2-6 right now. Like they should at least be like breaking 500, but they can't even do that.
Side note, briefly. We were right. It was 2002. It was, they played the Steelers. That was the year Tommy Maddox was the Steelers starter. Tell you what, honestly, dude, let's go.
Tim
this
Couch.
is perfect. This is perfect.
Tim Couch.
We're going to read off the names of these Browns quarterbacks since the Browns re-entered the NFL. Ready?
Let's do it.
So, I'm going to read them off, like, repeating the season. So, starting in 1999, we have Couch. Holcomb. Garcia. Dilfer. Fry. Anderson. Quinn. McCoy. Whedon. Campbell. Hoyer. McCown. Kessler. Kaiser. Mayfield. There you go, peeps. Who remembers Charlie Fry? And they had those guys in the end zone with the sign that said Charlie's Fries and it had a picture of French fries on it.
Oh, dude, that's great.
I think they wore French fry hats too, like
that's
they were
dope.
like they were Frylock. That team was 4-12, by the way.
But I just don't understand. Cleveland hasn't won. They haven't even won their division since they came back from the. From the dead back in 99?
Yeah. No,
they haven't even won their division since they came back. 20 years.
You wanna hear how the Browns have finished in their division? Starting in 99.
Hit me.
6th place. 6th place. 3rd place. 2nd place. That's the year they made the playoffs as a wild card.
6th place.
Yeah, that was back when it was like the AFC Central, I think. Back before they re-shifted the divisions.
Oh, gosh.
4th. 2nd, 4th, 3rd, 4th, 3rd. And they're 3rd this year. They're bad.
And that's only because Cincinnati is pretty much tanking.
Although, you do have to genuinely, it has to be a weird year for you to finish 7-9 and be in 4th place. Anyway, that's beside the point.
My deal is just,
bro, prove it. You have to prove it on the field first. And I was not sold on the coach, man. Like,
I wasn't sold on the hype because they hadn't won anything yet.
And, it's things like Freddie Kitchens earlier in the year calling a draw on 4th and 9? Like,
yeah.
I don't know. That's almost more inexcusable to me than, like, the Colts fake punt play. Like, that just is so, like, it was like you pressed the wrong button in Madden. Like, like he pressed the wrong button in real life.
Or like you're in the red zone, you have 4 downs to score, and then like pass
right.
play against like a great pass rushing defense in the Rams.
And you know what? If we're gonna criticize young black quarterbacks for being too all over the place, then we need to level the same criticism at Baker Mayfield for being just kind of wildly inconsistent.
I'm not convinced. I am not convinced that he's the answer. Talk about a sophomore
I'm not either,
slump.
man.
Talk about a sophomore slump. They even gave him new toys to play with. OBJ?
But
he should at least be like in a Pro Bowl consideration if you get OBJ.
He's thrown 12 picks. Wow.
Like, look at these games here. Yeah. Like, Tennessee, that was a winnable game. Now, like, the Jets, okay, they won that one because, like, the Jets didn't have a quarterback. LA Rams, that was a winnable game. Somehow they blew out the Baltimore Ravens. Was that San Francisco? Or was it San Francisco? SFO?
Yeah.
San Francisco, okay, they got crushed.
Now, to be clear,
they blew the lead against Seattle.
To be fair, now
New England.
He's on pace to get sacked like 45 times, that's pretty bad. So he's out there running for his life every game because their offensive line isn't any good. And that's the whole thing, right? Is like they did all this flashy stuff. They brought in Beckham and they got Nick Chubb, and they have all these great weapons all around the sort of skill positions, but like
they get Kareem Hunt too.
But I'm not even touching that. We've already talked about depressing shit today. Go read about it if you need to know.
Yeah. Maybe that's what he deserves. That is what he deserves, being on the Browns.
But you know what I mean? It's like they sort of kind of didn't improve like the most important thing, which is having, have the best quarterback in the world, and if he's just getting hit on every play, like,
I mean,
that's kind of been Brady this year. Like, Brady is just kind of like, he's just been getting hit all the time.
And Deshaun Watson, but Deshaun Watson just got speed and youth to pull magic out of his behind, and they just keep winning.
And to be clear, I'm not rooting for the Browns to fail. It's not that easy, man. It's actually, you know what? Fuck it. I am rooting for the Browns to fail because I fucking hate tanking. I hate it. I'm gonna quote you when you talked about super teams way back in the day. I hate it. I hate it. I hate it. I hate losing on purpose. It's so goddamn stupid. It is not the reason you play sports. You do not play to lose. And I'm tired of it. And I'm tired of teams like doing this brazen bullshit where they just empty their rosters, lose on purpose, and then come back with this just rotten organization where no one gives a shit about the team and expect that to suddenly become a winner. It doesn't work that way.
Like if we're talking about like maybe like a 14-man roster like in basketball, that can make an immediate impact.
Oh yeah, if you get the number one overall pick and you draft LeBron James, you're good.
But football is just one player. Like if you have a Brady or you have a Patrick Mahomes, hey, how you beat them? Like you score points and you also find ways to keep them off the field. Yeah. And you can beat them that way. They're not the ones playing defense. So if you got a crappy defense, what's going to happen? So,
but you know what?
No more overall picks is not going to solve all your problems.
Case in point, Mahomes was drafted 10th. There were a bunch of teams that had a shot at Mahomes and chose not to.
Watson was drafted like middle?
Something like that, yeah.
Lamar Jackson was the last pick of the first round last year.
I mean, obviously Brady's the classic example of someone that everybody overlooked multiple times.
Sixth round.
But the point being is that smart teams find ways to continually acquire talent. I mean, not to bang the drum on the Patriots, but they shift strategies every few years. And I mean, yes, having a Hall of Fame quarterback for 20 years helps, but they've turned over the roster a number of times. Yeah,
they've sold a lot of popular and really very skillful players a year or two early. To help, keep this, keep winning the salary cap battle.
Yeah.
And then just, if you have great coaching and stuff, be able to sell somebody on the way you do things, you can get the most out of somebody.
Well, honestly, we don't even have to bang the drum on the Patriots. If you look around the NFL, the Eagles,
Colts.
The Colts did bottom out when Peyton got hurt, though, but not on purpose.
Yeah, but right now, though, imagine Jacoby Brissett.
Yeah, no, it's true.
Their defense, offensive line, but it came too late. Well, when Luck is literally on his last legs, That should have been what they had in his early career.
Right. Well, I mean, if they hadn't had Ryan Grigson, but
Yeah.
we've done the Grigson thing already.
Yeah, he still sucks.
The Grigson still sucks. But like, if you look at like the Eagles or
Man, the Eagles have been up and down this year.
No, I know, but like, I'm looking over like the past 20 years. That's a team that has not gone full tank ever. They've continually turned, they haven't always been Super Bowl contenders every year, but they've turned over the roster a bunch of different times, and they've just said, we're just gonna keep trying to bring in talented players, and we're gonna keep trying to win instead of...
And then they got Big Dick Nick.
Right.
Yo, and the Cowboys, they never tank.
Yeah, and you know what?
The Dallas Cowboys.
Jerry Jones, but you know what? I respect that, because...
You respect that, and I respect Dak.
Right. Yeah, no, Dak was, what, a 4th round pick, wasn't he?
A 3rd round, I think.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Russell Wilson wasn't picked in the 1st round. Like,
yo, he unseated Matt Flynn, who they paid like $10 million for that year.
Right. So
Pete Carroll, man.
If you are smart but also incredibly lucky, you can find talent other places. It's not all about getting those top draft picks. And I mean, and again, I'm not even disputing that getting lots of high draft picks is a bad way to... I'm not saying that's a bad way to build a team. It isn't. I hate it. I hate that there are teams that are intentionally trying to lose, and if that is what the rules encourage, then the rules should change. Period.
Man. Like,
anyway, that's my rant.
Well, like, on the subject of tanking, like, the Miami Dolphins, they are explicitly trying to suck, but this past Sunday proved they sucked at sucking. They won against the Jets.
Dude, so why in the hell, again, like, yeah, if we're doing this, if we're doing tanking...
Get me to play quarterback.
No. Why the hell did they let Flores start Fitzpatrick over Rosen? Rosen was a Taco Bell turd. It hurt going in and coming out.
Jeez.
Rosen was the perfect tanking quarterback. He was their Deshaun Kaiser, and they should have just let him keep playing.
He's also very unlucky though. He got it. He got his butt beat in Arizona. After 1 year, they shipped him off, and then to an even worse organization, and just to get his butt beat up. His confidence is shot, and he's probably going to retire at like age 26 or 27. Yeah. And he didn't deserve that.
Well, because say what you will about Ryan Fitzpatrick, but that's a guy that can come in and sling it. Like, he's not afraid to throw a ton of interceptions, and he's just going to throw it. And
in a Harvard grad,
he will win some games. And if, again, like, what the hell are you doing if you win a game? Like,
some people trying to keep, at this point, it's like people are trying to keep some people are trying to keep their jobs.
I mean, Flores certainly is, but again, that's when the front office, I can't believe I'm saying this, that's when the front office should have stepped in and been like, no, you're not playing Fitzpatrick. Like, if that's their freaking goal is to lose, then they shouldn't be playing Ryan Fitzpatrick.
He about cost
him a loss. Should have signed him in the first place.
He about cost him a loss against the Redskins. The Washington football team.
Yeah. I don't know what the hell they're doing.
And then they beat the Jets. How are the Jets like this bad?
Although in fairness,
how are the Jets this bad?
Before we go to the Jets, in fairness, Miami has acquired 3 extra first round picks this year. Because of the Laramie Tunsil trade and the Minka Fitzpatrick trade. So,
but they want that quarterback. They want Tua is the ultimate prize.
They're going to have a bunch of chances because worst case scenario, they don't get the number 1 overall pick. They can package picks to move up if they need to.
Yeah,
you'd prefer not to because you'd rather get a bunch of good players. But whatever.
I mean, the last time somebody moved up to draft to pick a quarterback, that was the Bears with Mitch Trubisky. They were literally number 3 pick, and they just moved up 1 spot. I think they traded like a first round pick just to move up 1 spot to get the guy when he probably would have easily fell in their laps anyway.
Mitchell Falsbisky.
Man,
I think he's permanently Falsbisky now. Like there's no debate there.
I'm a Carolina man, but Like, I mean, less, like, more for basketball and less for football, but sometimes I'll watch the football games. But he's not a good quarterback.
It's not like
I'm not saying that they don't have I guess the best like wide receivers, but like your quarterback's supposed to help elevate that play, and plus they got good two good running backs that can catch passes out of the backfield and can run. But it just seems like I think he threw for under 200 yards like this past Sunday. It was not good.
I'll tell you what it is. It's partially the decision making, but almost none of his passes are accurate.
He's just not good.
There's some guys who are like kind of, in the middle, kind of just okay in the accuracy department, and they just make up for it by having a really strong arm. Just gets there faster. Mm-hmm. But I don't know. One of those Bears primetime games early in the season, I kind of sat there watching him for a few series and just looking at the trajectory of his passes.
Was it the Saints game? Because that was a pretty bad one.
I can't remember which game it was, but I was just like, this guy cannot hit a receiver in the hands to save his life.
Was it worse than Tebow?
I mean, Tebow, should never have started an NFL game, period. That's an entirely different case in, to
be fair, though, that was probably a publicity stunt to, sell tickets, and boy, did it sell tickets. So, it got me watching Thursday night football games.
Oh, no, I just think that,
I mean, what would you rather watch Tim Tebow play and pull, a miracle out of his behind, or watching Mitchell Trubisky, just underperform, every series? Almost
one
every
of
series.
Those two is good enough to play in the NFL.
Yeah.
I mean, Mitch Trubisky is good enough to be a bad NFL quarterback. Tim Tebow wasn't even good enough for that.
But he got to the playoffs, and he's got a playoff victory. And I'm not even sure if, yes, Trubisky is better.
I'm proud of my team for putting a freaking end to that.
Oh. Wait, you talking about New England?
Yeah.
It's my team too,
man. I'm proud of our team. Whatever.
Yeah, but no,
try not to be a complete homer on here.
No, you're good. But, Trubisky, he's not they drafted up. They traded up to get him to be a franchise savior. And I don't know what it is about Chicago, but whatever quarterback they touch just does not pan out. They have not had a decent quarterback since Jay Cutler, and he was
just kind of up and down.
And then before that, their most notable quarterback was Kyle Orton, and then the best quarterback they ever had was back in the 80s with Jim McMahon.
Jim McMahon had a career 58% completion percentage, 100 touchdowns, 90 picks, 7.1 yards per attempt. Man, the NFL was different back then.
Yeah.
A backup quarterback would blush at these numbers now. That's just awful.
Still had personality in the Super Bowl shuffle, man.
Of course.
So,
did he rush much? Actually, he kind of did a little bit. Look at that. A few rushing touchdowns in there. Look at Mr. McMahon.
Yeah. I mean,
anyway.
I guess we can kind of see why he's having, some CTE. You hear the stories about I think there was a segment once, my brother told me about Jim McMahon. He'll go into the kitchen and then have no idea what the heck he's doing, and you can't remember why he went to the kitchen and stuff. And yeah, that was a rougher time as well with football. But
also too, that was an era where stadiums with artificial turf basically had the turf glued to concrete.
Ouch.
Dudes were literally just getting their heads slammed into concrete, pretty much.
Ugh.
Different era. They, and that was the era where, in a team's locker room, you'd walk in and there'd just be a bucket of painkillers there, and the team doc would be like, "Hey boys, go get what you need." So, anyway,
we're talking about quarterbacks and stuff. Jameis Winston look like he ain't gonna pan out. And just me, or is just Tennessee just has rotten luck when trying to get franchise signal callers. Remember after Steve McNair, they really haven't had much. Remember the whole Vince Young thing? Jeff Fisher killed his career. Then, like, at one point they had Kerry Collins starting for them.
That one good year.
Yeah. Jake Locker, he retired early because they just let him get the crap beat out of him. He couldn't hold, his body couldn't hold up.
Like Jocker.
Mariota, he got the crap he beat out of him. And he's like a shell of himself. They got to the point he was benched by Tannehill. And Tannehill showed his like, you know, his true colors, you know, this past Sunday, which, by the way, me, my girlfriend, and, one of my best friends, who's ironically also named Daniel, went to see the Panthers game. Panthers take on the Titans. First time my longtime girlfriend got a chance to actually watch her boys play live, which is a gift and a curse. Great because, you know, it's her first game see her favorite team play, her favorite football team. That's amazing. What's not amazing is Ryan Tannehill throwing interceptions, making the job easier for the Panthers to win, and making her feel depressed like that first half. That's not fun. They started to make it a game, but they just made too many like mistakes to like climb out of.
Tannehill has brought like a little spark to that offense since he's come in.
He can bring a spark, but he's not the long-term solution.
No, I think
it's going to be a long time till they can find a long-term solution because the Titans finish in the middle of the pack every year. So them getting a Tua or a Lawrence or anything or anybody like that is like out of the question.
Draft and develop. Well, you know what? Okay, they should just lose on purpose then.
That ain't gonna work because
they just have no hope and have no fans go to their games.
They're too good of a football team to suck, and they're not a good enough team to make it to the playoffs. But they are a fun team to watch, though.
You can lose on purpose. You just trade away all of your good players. Done. Done and done. I fixed the Titans.
Have you seen have you seen it this bad where there's like a team that's like 0-7? 1-7, 1-7. There's like at least five teams that like only have like one win, one or two wins or less.
See, that's the weird thing is,
and then you got like these teams that are like only have one loss and stuff.
I think we've swung. It's becoming almost like baseball is, where it is so stratified. And what's gonna happen is, I think you're gonna see a lot more 14, 15 win seasons because there's just more gimmies on the schedule than there were in previous years.
Close your eyes, just throw the ball, just chuck it up there, see if.
And I mean, I would not it would have to, again, you would have to involve some just absurd luck, but it would not surprise me to see a team in maybe these next 5 years go 16-0 either. Cause again, if you get lucky and you have like two teams tanking in your division, that's like 4 free wins.
I mean, that's New England about almost every year, pretty much every year.
Well, I mean, you in our division, I mean, the Bills are actually good this year. But we have Miami and we have the Jets who tank just by existing. Like, whether the Jets are trying to win or not, they're tanking because they exist.
That was the saddest Monday Night Football game I've ever seen. And we didn't, and the Patriots didn't even play that good. They didn't even play that well. It's just the Jets sucked so bad. They just had to just be there and just be waiting for the ball. Boom, interception.
Well, it's sort of like this proverbial fight between like a younger brother and his older brother. And the older brother just is so much bigger that he just holds the younger guy at arm's length and just watches his fists kind of flail uselessly at the air.
It makes me.
It was the football equivalent of that.
I'll tell you what was the football equivalent of, like that episode of Home Movies when Shannon goes against Brendan the first time.
Yeah.
And then like Shannon just straight up mops the floor with him. This is called the Tasmanian footlock. You can't get out of this. One knee to the nose, and then like pretty much a sharpshooter, and then like it was done. That was pretty much that.
Yeah. I
just also wanted just to reference Home Movies because like that's a pretty baller show. And then like we can't talk about like quarterbacks or busted down quarterbacks or without talking about like Cam Newton.
Yeah.
I hate to say it, but I think like Kyle Allen is not the answer. He's not. I don't find him as a long-term solution unless he like just astronomically improved, like week in, week out, like year to year, like from this year to next year. Even my mom was talking about this, And like, my mom is not like a sports person, but she started to become a sports person because, you know, my late dad, like, got her into sports like that. You know, we went to games and all that. But she would watch the football games and she would see Cam throwing his body to, like, for the greater good of the team, taking all them hits and stuff. She's like, Cam needs to sit down or else he gonna end up breaking his body down to the point it isn't gonna be any good. And I think it has finally happened.
I mean, the guy's not gonna play this whole year. So that should tell you something about the severity of what he's dealing with.
And then he probably shouldn't even play those first two regular season games because you could tell he wasn't good.
Yeah,
and then in that preseason game,
he was so hurt that he was missing the whole. That he missed the whole season. Like, yeah, no, he shouldn't have been out there in the first place.
And like, well, especially like the late last season when he just couldn't even throw down the field because his shoulder was so jacked up.
Yeah.
And then like the fact that
kudos to him for trying. Yeah. But, like, good Lord.
Yeah, I mean. And, you know, unfortunately, it was them playing against the Patriots where his foot got injured. He got sacked. And then, like, he just was been hurt ever since. Yeah. Like, is it just like freak accidents these last couple of years? Or has it truly been his body just constantly taking a pounding to the point where his body's starting to fail him now? Because he was drafted in 2011. And what is that? That's 8 years. So I mean, 7, that's pretty much 7, like if you take away this season, that's still like 7 years of his body taking punishment.
Well, and let's not forget that we're now 4 years removed from his MVP season, from the undefeated 15-1 Panthers.
The undefeated 15-1.
It's my favorite.
When he lost to like I think they lost to like the Niners or like the Giants or something. Like,
no, they were the undefeated 15-1 Panthers. It's my favorite meme ever.
Man, I'm not going with that. They're the ones that, for crying out loud, they went like 7, 8-1 and made it to a playoff game.
Amazing.
So they don't deserve that. No, they do.
Didn't they win because of like Ryan Lindley? Or was that
yes.
year? Yeah, I remember that.
And then they played the real team in the Seahawks.
Yeah. They almost came back.
Yeah, but that Legion of Boom though. But I want to hear your thoughts on like Cam Newton, like what you thought of him as a player and what is going on, like how you feel now about where we are now with him in terms of his injuries and stuff.
So I have a buddy who is maybe like the biggest Cam Newton fan in the world, and throughout this season has been like processing his grief in real time.
Oh no!
Via conversations with me, and I keep seeing him pop up to argue with people in comment sections about it. But so I've had this conversation a lot, but like Cam made the Panthers relevant.
He did.
In a way that
he had Jimmy Clausen before him.
I don't even think the Panthers were quite relevant in this way in like the 2003 Super Bowl season even. Like that it factor that you were talking about.
Swag.
Cam, but the leadership too. He's also like the emotional center of that team.
I don't know. They also, some people want to give him flack for like, the whole debacle, like the post-game interview in the Super Bowl. And stuff and blah blah blah. But he looked like
the dude who is going to be happy after that? Like that was fucking stupid.
Yeah,
the dude is always going to have a greater microscope on him, and there's just, I mean,
the black quarterback.
I think we can't discount that because of his race, he's always going to have a greater microscope on him, and so the criticism of him after that was not fair. He probably should have dove into that pile to recover that fumble, but whatever, it wouldn't have won the game anyway. But the point is in my pants.
I knew you were going to say that.
Literally, this podcast is just becoming like a self-referential singularity that's going to collapse on itself.
Dang.
We're going to become a black hole. Cam made the Panthers relevant.
Yeah, and people are saying like he's a tight end or a running back playing quarterback and stuff. I'm like, dude, he's a quarterback.
He came in and ultimately had success as a passer. He came in and was like immediately a star and the center of attention in a way that, honestly, man, this was a friggin' expansion franchise in the 90s. And honestly,
Kevin Green, Sam Mills.
This is just entirely anecdotal evidence, but like, I feel like up until that 15-1 season, I think they really had a hard time like connecting with the communities in this part of the country, connecting with the fans. And I don't know what it was. It's just teams have to kind of be around for a while and have moments in order for people to really engage. You know, Red Sox fans are so crazy dedicated because like it's like a family thing almost. You know, I'm a Red Sox fan because my dad was, and he is because his dad was. You know, and that sort of thing going all the way back. But
Carolina is not really like a significant city like a New York or Boston and blah, blah.
But you know, when you sort of have this team that hasn't been around that long and just kind of hasn't really done a whole lot. I mean, you know, there was that cool story where the team made the NFC Championship the second year they existed, which is kind of wild.
Kevin Green, Sam Mills, Harry Collins was in there,
right? Yeah. And you know, they made the Super Bowl in 2003 with Jake Delhomme.
And like, don't forget, like, Steven Touchdown Davis, who used to play for the Washington football team.
Man.
And then, like, Deshaun Foster.
Yeah.
A young Steve Smith, Muhsin Muhammad.
Moose.
John Casey, the kicker, lefty.
God. Yeah. No, that was great.
I hate that he kicked that out.
Chris Jenkins, the defensive tackle. Julius Peppers, can't forget him.
Ricky Prohl was on that team.
Oh, yeah. Anyways, but my argument really is that I don't think anybody on that team was quite the media star and quite the figure that Cam became.
The mascot.
And so, like,
yeah, the face.
You know, so, I mean, I really think you can credit Cam Newton for those two things. He probably won't win a ring with the Panthers, but I can't give you scientific numbers to back this up, but I don't remember seeing nearly as many people wearing Panthers gear before that 2015 season. Like, that I feel like was the moment that franchise really actually connected with and formed a fan base that's going to support them into the future.
I don't know, like, I'd say a couple years before that, because I did see like a lot of like Cam Newton jerseys.
Yeah.
When he was doing his thing and all that. Yeah, that was before the Super Bowl run.
Maybe the Cam era then.
Oh, yeah.
You know, but like,
Cam's a big deal.
People were not coming out to buy fucking Jimmy Clausen jerseys. You know.
Vinny Testaverde, I think, played that year too.
Yeah. So
1 in 15.
Yeah. It's sad because, yeah, I think it probably is the end of an era because I don't know how they keep him with that $20 million price tag unless they know for a fact that he can be that player again.
But and
I don't think that's a guarantee at this point.
But then what's your future? Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
I think it's very likely that, I hate to say it, but just like with J.J. Watt or some of the other players that have sort of very tragically kind of had injuries cut into the second half of their careers, I think we've very likely seen the best of Cam already.
So what do we do now? Like, I mean, will the Panthers keep him just out of virtue of, like, they don't really have a future at quarterback? I mean, Allen is, he's decent, and, like, he could be good, and then, like, with time, and, like, who knows, maybe he could grow to be great, but right now he's, like, a quality backup quarterback.
Yeah.
And, like, no, and he's not a crappy backup, so that's a good thing.
Yeah.
But I don't see him as being, like, you know, franchise, like, you know, a franchise answer at quarterback. Like at this point, McCaffrey is the new face of the franchise. Have you seen like a lot of like McCaffrey jerseys, man?
A few, but
I mean, like
I'm sure we'll see them after this year, certainly.
I mean, especially a white dude at running back, man. Like only Toby Gerhardt wish he could be there.
I was just about to say Toby Gerhardt fans unite.
That was supposed to be Toby Gerhardt.
God. Anyway. love you, Cam. I hope I'm wrong. I hope I have not seen the best of Cam Newton because the NFL's a better place with him being good.
Yeah, and his fashion. But
well, that's never going away.
But here's the thing, though. If he doesn't play for Carolina, where does he go next year? Because there's a lot of quarterback-hungry teams. Tennessee, Chicago.
I mean, dude, yeah.
Washington, but I don't wish it upon nobody.
Well, the ideal place for him to go is...
Miami, New York.
No, it's a team that already has other pieces in place. You don't want him going to a rebuilding.
Chicago, they have a defense.
Yeah.
They got a run game.
Chicago has a defense and skill position players. I mean, if the Vikings decide to say cut bait with
that could be good.
With
Cousins.
like that. Yeah.
You like that?
I couldn't remember his name.
Kirk Cousins.
But like that sort of team that's like, we feel like we're a quarterback away from getting to the promised land.
Mm-hmm.
Like
the Steelers, maybe.
Maybe if Ben's just done.
Jacksonville, but
the problem is Jacksonville is locked into Nick Foles no matter what they do because they gave him all that money. And honestly, they benched Gardner Minshew, which I think
I thought was the right call because Minshew right now he's a quality backup, but he didn't like those first few weeks that he started. He kind of lit the world on fire, but then he kind of scaled down and he kind of showed like, hey, I'm not. He's at the cusp of being a starter, but he's not like I wouldn't put him over Foles unless Foles can't go.
The thing is, he's young, and I think we just already know what Foles is. And I think Minshew was better in those games than you're giving him credit for. He really stunk it up in that last game, but like if you look at the body of work other than that, dude did some pretty wild stuff.
Yeah, he was able to escape pressure.
And made some
yeah. Plus that mustache gives him powers.
He was making accurate throws. He was making correct reads, which are like two things that are absolutely not a guarantee for a guy to do, especially so young.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, he made some kind of wild, like 1 percentile type plays too. So like, that's a dude who's got the goods.
You got the goods.
And
Gardner Minshew, like now, what about
and honestly,
can he be the face of a franchise? Minshew Mania, Big Dick Nick.
And honestly, Nick Foles is the football equivalent of
he's definitely better than Bortles.
A hitter who, I'm thinking of a lot of those stories that happen in MLB playoffs where a guy who was like a mediocre hitter all year suddenly gets hot and kind of drives the team to a championship. That's what Nick Foles is. Nick Foles has a large body of work of decidedly mediocre play.
And then he got Philly into the playoffs last year and won a playoff game.
He had and people forget,
probably could have won another playoff game. Went for the fumble.
People forget that Nick Foles was the Eagles were really good and they made the playoffs the year they won the Super Bowl, right?
Mm-hmm.
People forget that Nick Foles was awful those last 3 games of the year. He was horrible. And somehow he turned it around and found it again in the playoffs and threw for 400 yards against the Patriots in the Super Bowl. Fair enough.
That was just because our defense was extremely bad.
The Philly special, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It's all legend now.
Malcolm Butler benching, and also, he broke his hand at the Panthers game.
500 yards in that game. Anyway, the point is,
get also Malcolm Butler. He broke his hand broke his wrist at the game on Sunday.
Oh. But I don't know, man. I think they were kind of stupid to give Foles all that money anyway. Obviously, they couldn't have known that they had what they had in Minshew, but no one else was giving Foles that contract. They could have paid him decidedly less and not be in this friggin' position where, unfortunately, it kind of doesn't matter.
Couldn't pay Ramsey.
Because the point is, maybe Minshew's not a future MVP, but he's
good.
He's a starting quarterback.
He's good.
And he's a starting quarterback on a rookie contract. Which makes him absurdly valuable because that's money you can put if you were a normal team somewhere else.
Mm-hmm.
But you've already gone and spent all that money on friggin' Foles anyway, so it's kind of like found gold, but not.
I guess I'm just I guess I just have like PTSD of just watching like young quarterbacks with potential, and then a lot of them just falling flat on their face by year 3 and 4, and then like it just wrecks their franchise. They gotta hit the reset button all over again, trying to find a franchise signal caller that they won't be able to find for at least another decade. You know,
but what's the alternative? Paying some old guy who's just kind of okay, like I mean, do you honestly believe we're getting like 2017 playoff Nick Foles here? Like.
Likely not, because you're talking about it's a whole different environment, man. He ain't got those players like that, and plus that's 2 years is kind of like in football years. That does seem like forever ago.
It sucks about Steph's wrist, man.
It's like once they lost that NBA finals, it just went. Then they caught a branch, right? They caught a branch before they fell, and then once Curry broke his wrist, that branch snaps, and then you fall the rest of the way.
Someone on the Ringer NBA show pointed this out. Can you ever remember a time where a team in the span of about 10 games had serious injuries to 3 Hall of Famers? That's pretty bonkers. And it almost feels like the karma pendulum swinging back really hard from all of the absurdly good luck it gave the Warriors to even set this up in the first place.
The Warriors just like bullying, beating up on everybody. The fall is just extremely rapid. I haven't seen a fall this great from a championship team or like a team that was in the finals to the next year of like not even look like you're even gonna make it, not even close to the playoffs since like the Chicago Bulls when they like lost like Jordan and Pippen and all them, and then they were just a team in red like, with a Bulls logo.
Phil Jackson.
They didn't have Phil anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like they had guys like Rusty LaRue and like guys like that. I'm like, man.
You know what's gonna be weird, man? That first year after Brady retires.
Oh yeah, I'm waiting on it, dude.
Even if, and honestly, I think Belichick is hanging on because he wants to see if he can do it after Brady goes.
Man.
And this is weird rumors that Brady might leave this offseason. I don't see that happening.
Go ahead and join the Chargers. Let's see how well that works out, dude.
Honestly, dude, go to a team where you're actually going to get hit a lot. And although he's getting hit a lot this year, I guess. But,
but we'll go
to a team with no offensive line and he's going to retire then he's going to just turn to dust.
Okay, with the Lakers, okay? On 3. Well, what are we going to say? 1, 2, 3. Fuck the Lakers. And like Dan will explain why. And also, I think this like on the record. It's like my first like F-bomb on this.
No, you've had others.
Really?
Yeah, I've edited them all out. Yes, fuck the Lakers. So okay, I'm biased here. I'm a Celtics fan, but you know what?
I'm a Bulls fan. We ain't doing nothing.
My team did everything right.
Mm-hmm.
They spent years hoarding assets, drafting good players, and they built a team and
executed, almost the equivalent of a Herschel Walker trade.
Basically, to have a shot at a guy at like maybe trading for a guy like AD because they know they'll never be able to sign one in free agency.
Mm-hmm.
And as we know in the NBA, you either have a superstar or you're an also-ran. Whatever, man. It's still a fun sport, but that's the way it is.
You're a what ran?
An also-ran.
Also-ran.
You don't have a shot.
Ooh.
You're just someone else who happened to be in the race.
Ooh.
You're one of the 10 teams that has a superstar, or you're just someone who didn't win the title. And
that's pretty much, that's Charlotte now.
Yep.
Oh, gosh.
And it's been Charlotte for many, many years. And really, basically, over one offseason, it kind of got blown up because Kyrie just walked and they got nothing for him. You know, and
it was also kind of like a head case, too.
No, but you cannot deny his talent and that he's one of the probably 20 best players in the league. So, you know, losing that.
He just didn't fit at the end. I think
there's, you know, Kemba Walker is like 75% of that, and it's just not the same. And Kemba Walker, because of his size, is going to struggle at times to be a finisher, and that just, it is what it is.
It's true, but like, I'm biased as like, you know, like my rooting for like our native team in the Hornets. Like, without him, like, it's like they were an average team with him, and that's after he was put up almost 30 points a game.
Yeah.
Like, you take him away, they're vying for like the number one spot. They stink.
No, they're horrible. They're atrocious.
Like,
but you do everything right. Sometimes it doesn't work out. The Lakers have done arguably everything wrong over the last 5 years.
I'll raise you even like 10. Well, no, maybe not 10 because like
they won the title 10 years ago.
Okay, they won the title. Okay.
And they were still like a decent team even for a couple of years after that.
Oh, okay. Yeah, okay, 5, yeah.
But, yeah, pretty much since like the last few years of Kobe's career until now, it has been a just dysfunctional organization with people in charge who don't know what the hell they're doing.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Jeannie Buss is being whispered to by Kurt Rambis's wife, and go back and read that whole article that came out this summer about the Lakers' dysfunction. It's friggin' hilarious.
I still just remember Magic Johnson. Like, yeah, we're gonna talk about people talking about next year.
Rob Pelinka.
I ain't gonna be here.
Rob Pelinka inventing a story about having dinner with Heath Ledger and talking about the Joker and stuff that like never happened.
Whoa, really? Dang.
Yeah, that's in that article, dude. Go read it.
Jeez.
And like, not Michael Jackson, Magic Johnson.
I just think like that is so meme worthy. Like, and that could be applied to like almost anything in life. It's like, hey, you going to work like, oh man, like you go to work. Me quitting my job. Like, hey, I see you work tomorrow. I ain't gonna be here. It's
me to my coworkers the day before a holiday. I ain't gonna be here.
It's like, you going to, like, someone's like, hey, I'll see you at the party tomorrow. I ain't gonna be here.
If people were honest instead of just saying might go on Facebook.
just put like a macro of like Magic Johnson.
I ain't gonna be here.
Just put the GIF. It's like, hey, I'll see you at church tomorrow. I ain't gonna be here. I'm guilty of that.
Oh man. No, they've done arguably everything wrong, and yet somehow in one off season they get LeBron and they get AD. That like the universe is not fair, and
one off season got him, then the next off season.
Case in point. The Lakers are that rich kid who's had everything handed to them. And this is a stupid metaphor because I don't think I can really drum up sympathy for the Celtics here. But, like, look at all the other teams in the NBA. When it's like one squad is... I mean, that's why Dell Demps intentionally sabotaged those trade talks with the Lakers because it pissed him off that he's worked so... Not that he did a good job, but, like... He worked so hard to like try to build a contender in this kind of small market team with not a lot of resources.
Uh-huh.
And then here the Lakers come waltzing in to like take his best player away. And, how fair is that?
The Pelicans still, like, I know he wasn't gonna be there, but at least like, they still got most of the Lakers roster anyway. Well, it's
like, you can say to yourself to make yourself feel better that, like, you have stronger moral fiber than that rich kid, and, all the lumps you've gotten in your life have really, really strengthened you and given you all these great personality traits that rich kid will never have. But let's be honest, dude.
Doesn't matter.
That rich kid's parents are gonna keel over one day, and he's gonna be a millionaire. And will just never worry or want for anything, and you're gonna be paying off your student loans till you're 70. So...
Damn! Damn!
All of those enriching experiences you've had don't mean shit. Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for this week's Detox.
Man, I mean, I don't even know what this really say. I'd be like Al Pacino. Like, I remember like seeing a comment on YouTube was like, that pregame speech he gave, that the last like full game they show in the movie. He's like, I don't really know what to say here. And then the comment says, proceeds to give the most epic like pregame speech ever. Like,
you're gonna scratch and claw with your fingernails. I'm putting that in the show notes. Hey, if you're having a bad day, go fucking watch that. You're gonna wanna like run through a brick wall for someone.
It was really powerful because like that's before we go to Detox. Like that was a really powerful scene because throughout like in the movie, like especially they having that conflict between like Willie Beeman and Coach D, like Coach Tony, like so he's talking about like, for the greater good of the team and, being a leader and this and that. And then, Jamie Foxx's character is driven by ego. And like, he was saying like, I never really like all them talks, those pep talks you give and stuff in the locker room and stuff. I never really listened to him. But then like when he gave that epic speech, you literally see him like, he's like in the back, but he's literally stepping forward to get closer because it like turned over a new leaf of him actually receiving what the coach was actually telling him. So when he originally neglected him, he just kind of like turns and be like, okay, I can see, like, I'm being touched here. What I can talk about, I guess, what hits home, I don't know how I'm going to like, talk about it. It'll probably be brief. It's just like, I used to not be a believer in like anxiety. I thought it was just, hey, it's just somebody not, thinking happy thoughts or being happy and, thinking like it was a choice and everything. But honestly, like over the years, like in these recent years, like as I look back on like my past, I think actually I had like anxious tendencies and OCD and all that, like, and that was developed. And then it's starting to bring its stuff up to the forefront with like intrusive thoughts and, other stuff, intrusive thoughts and intrusive actions and all that, feeling guilty about it and rethink, like, and then OCD, it fuels the OCD of me being like, okay, like, oh, I should have done this, or I feel guilty about this. I feel like I'm a bad person for this, or thinking that, or for doing this. And then just spins that cycle and then like talking to somebody, like for example, I would talk to like my girlfriend about, I guess kind of like a confessional thing to kind of relieve that guilt and stuff. But then I read on the internet about the whole relief junkie thing. Like, instead of like trying to properly cope and just like process it, like either like talk to a real therapist or, you building up your stamina to be like, hey, these thoughts aren't indicative of who I am. But then like when you obsess over things over and over and over and over, and with my detox, it goes with like, really it's like the battle of the minds. Like your mind it can be your greatest strength, but it can also be it can be your best friend, but it can also be your worst enemy. Actually, it's both. It can be both. And I think everybody goes through that. Like goes through those series of that that best friend and worst enemy brain throughout the course of their whole lives. And like, I am coming I'm coming to terms with it. Like, wow, like my brain it works differently, and like I process things differently than like somebody, I guess, who would be deemed as normal. And like people that I know and love, they have their tics, or they have their ways, or like some people I know that have their bouts with anxiety. And like, it is like, what, regardless of what, like, especially like conservative America might want you to think, it is a real thing. I used to think like that was not a real thing and thought it was just something wrong with the person, or just, yeah, but over years of like, growth and development, go through college and, with a liberal school, and then like even coming through stuff that I pretty much had like buried. Acknowledging the fact that like, anxiety it's a thing, and it is serious. It takes a lot of hard work and effort and time to like overcome certain things like that. And even then, like anxiety, like I used to think is a cure for it, but there's not. Like you can alleviate you can decrease the major impact, like the impact that it makes. But like if someone has anxiety, like a lot of times, like that's like kind of going to be, that's a part of you. And instead of trying to fight against it and to like not acknowledge that it's not there, which makes the feedback even worse, acknowledge the fact that, hey, it's here, but I'm also gonna make sure that this doesn't define me and try to, rise above it. But like, hey, I acknowledge you, but you're in the back corner, but you're not in the forefront of my life. And I have my struggles with that, but seeing like my experiences, people I've known who've had their bouts with that, like it's something that you can't get over in a day, or may not ever be able to get over. But you can only build your strength up and keep moving, and build your strength and stamina to like being a better you, so that anxiety is not as backbreaking as it once would have been. So, I want, I guess, hear your thoughts on that. But like, what I want to try to say is that, people who are going through, and it can't just be, and I'm not just talking, like, I guess I use anxiety a lot, for this one, but it could be any mental disorder. And, like having to, not being afraid to step up and, get the professional help, empowering your mind by reading books that can, I guess, on the subject, or ways to help use your anxiety to work for you instead of against you. And, I guess just any mental disorders that we're talking about, like just not to be too proud to get help, and just, to work on, striving towards being a better you. So, so for those struggling, with mental disorders, just like, not give up, and that, there's people there who's willing to listen and willing to help, and to remember that even if you fall short, there's always a new day, and you just get back on your horse and try again. I want to hear your thoughts on that. Like, I know people that dealt with stuff, and yeah, so
I've referenced it over the years. I've referenced it a few times on this show, but I've absolutely had my own struggles. I think my number one is probably depression, but I've definitely had anxiety as well. Mm-hmm. And I appreciate that for. I mean, honestly, you may notice from my tone on this show sometimes that my probably default is to look at things in a sort of cynical, depressing light, and that's kind of the way my brain's wired. And
that's also your style, though. Like I would be taken aback if you went the complete 180 of that. You know?
Well, I'm never gonna be like a Pollyanna type. That's not my personality.
You like my Daria to like what's the Jane? What's her best friend? Yeah. I'm Jane. You're my Daria. Yo.
But I mean, that's the part of me that my eyes are open and I'm paying attention. But, wow, that was a dickish thing to say. That is implying that you're not. But
I get it. Like, I think the people get it. It's like, you're not shutting your eyes away from, like, you know, the hard truths, you know?
Right.
Yeah, instead of pretending things are okay when they're not, so.
Yeah. But, you know, like, for all of the maybe not good things that have happened in, you know, society and recent decades, there's been a massive, massive amount of progress in awareness about mental illness and what it is and how to treat it and how to work on it and how to manage it.
Yeah.
And
management's the key thing.
It's still stigmatized, but it's significantly less than it used to be. And I'm very candid about it because that's my way of trying to help change that stigma. I will be the first to say I see a therapist, and honestly, I mean, we started the show in 2017, and I would say over the last 2 years have probably been the toughest for me on that front, maybe in my life. And I'm a person, I'm very lucky in that I am high functioning. I get up, I go to work, I come home, I eat dinner, I go to bed. You know, my brain is really, really mean to me sometimes, and, you know, on top of all of that, but I'm lucky that it doesn't make me unable to, like, function as an adult, for the most part. But, absolutely, and I'm with you on what you said. You know, it's very difficult to catch thoughts while they're happening and challenge them, and that's something I've been working on in therapy these last few years, really. And it is, honestly, it's harder than hitting a Major League Baseball for me. It is incredibly difficult.
Because I don't know about for you, but like sometimes when I feel like anxious or like get a thought that I feel guilty about and everything, it's like I could either like my chest will get tight, or I'll feel like or a common thing, like I'll feel a tightness in my throat.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, like, the physical response to, like, the mental.
Well, here's one. I actually feel comfortable telling this story. So, and I think you may have heard this off mic, but for the listeners. So, earlier this year, I want to say January of this year, maybe? I can't remember when exactly, but it was early this year. It was in the spring. So, I went to the vet. And I took my cat to the vet, Atari, who's been featured on this show before, for his regular checkup. And the vet came in and, you know, kind of had a look at him and kind of had to listen to his heart and everything. And then, you know, after the exam was done and, you know, they gave me my cat back and put him in the carrier, the vet talked to me, and he was like, so we noticed a little heart murmur with him, and he was like very quick to assure me it's a very minor one. It's not a serious condition. It's just a thing we're going to keep an eye on. But he started explaining to me what a heart murmur is, and, you know, the valves pumping blood into and out of the heart, and, you know, and the muscles contracting and constricting and whatever. And he was like saying all these things to me, and I started feeling I like could physically feel my own heart in my chest, like speeding up and the muscles contracting and releasing.
Ooh.
And I'm not kidding, like, the, like, tunnel started closing in my vision, and I started getting lightheaded, and my, like, vision started turning light, and I think the vet noticed something was wrong, and he was like, are you okay? And I was like, yo, I need to sit down, and I, like, was that close to passing out. And I pretty much knew while it was happening, it's a panic attack. My body is having a physical reaction to basically, and again, like, logically, I knew the guy wasn't coming out to tell me that, like, my cat was gonna die. And he's fine, by the way. Like, Atari is good. He's in good health. It's just, they're monitoring it. You know, later on in his life, they may need to treat it with medication, but, like, it's not a big deal. It's not a death sentence. But it was just, even the possibility of that, like, you know, I've had a lot of changes in my life the past few years. We'll leave it at that, because this isn't my diary. But, you know, like, basically that cat is, like, the only thing I have left from really, like, a chapter of my life that is now very much over. And even just the possibility of losing him was enough to, you know, not even the possibility, just, like, the thought of it was enough to trigger, like, an almost complete shutdown of my body. And it was terrifying, even though I was lucky enough that I know about this stuff, and I knew as it was happening that it was a panic attack. And, you know, but even so, even with that knowledge, it still, like wrecked me. And it's terrifying. And I mean, imagine if you don't know what that is, you probably think you're dying, you know? When like, you know, that thought cycle just gets so fast that it just, like, manifests in physical symptoms. And that's the funny thing is, you know, I was more embarrassed than anything else, because the vet and everybody in the office was, like, freaking out and thinking they needed to, like, call an ambulance. And I'm just like, no. I just need, like, a cup of water. I need to sit down for a minute. And, like, I was fine, and they were even like, yo, do you need help? Like, you know, do you need, like, a cab to take you home? And I'm like, I'm good. But, because, you know, I at least knew what it was. I knew that there wasn't anything wrong with me, and that I was fine to drive home. But it was just like, and I still go to that same vet now, and every time I go in there, I'm like, I bet they're all kind of looking at each other like, oh God, it's the friggin' fainting guy again.
But you ain't the first, nor will be the last.
No,
man.
I'm not. And, you know, you know, it's a thing, and just like any other, you know, medical condition or illness, you know, you just take it in stride and do what you can. And, you know, I hope that my vulnerability and candor maybe is able to help others.
Yeah.
Maybe be a little less, hopefully, ashamed and sort of, you know, feel better about coming forward and seeking help.
Yeah, man.
'Cause it's a rough one, man. It's funny, you know, it helped me a lot to sort of realize these are just thoughts, and they can't, like, a thought cannot, like, punch you in the nose, you know? Like, a thought cannot bash your head against the wall.
But it can, though, if you, like, keep giving it life and giving it, like, the constant attention, and it's like...
Oh, yeah, no, it can absolutely wreck you eventually, but in the moment when you realize, oh, okay, like, I understand what's going on here, it starts to lose some of its power.
Yeah.
But, you know, even so, I mean, your brain is incredibly powerful, and it can really... It can really mess with you.
It can build and it can destroy
if you don't work on it. So, anyways, that was a long detox, but an important one. That was good ad-libbing, buddy.
Yeah, like I mean, I like to talk about things that, like, I'm like, either I have seen or / like stuff I'm, like, currently going through, and, like, I think that's what, like. That's the meaning of the detox. Is it's not like trying to, like, get people to conform and, like, do what, like, we say and stuff. It's just like us showing us being human to other humans. Like, hey, we have our struggles here. If you have your struggles too, then hey, we hear you. Don't give up. That's pretty much the gist of detox, man. To try and be like, hey, we can understand your struggles. Hey, it's not impossible to overcome it.
And you know what? Hey,
sorry.
to highlight our joking about cynical ass Dan, something else I told you off mic, I not too recently started keeping a gratitude list.
Yeah.
Of the big things.
Everybody should have those.
Like,
everybody.
And it's something that I like made fun of in the past. I was just like, that's stupid. Why would anybody need that? But it's like, my brain is so pre-wired to look at all the things that are wrong.
The whackness?
Yeah.
Like the movie The Whackness.
Because I hate the idea that you should always focus on the positive, in the way of like ignoring the negative.
Oh, because like that's
the kind of thing that causes people to not care that there are children in cages, and that sort of thing.
Yeah,
but
you gotta be balanced.
You must always keep your eyes open, but that doesn't mean that you. It's not like pulling up a video of a house burning down and just watching it over and over again, forcing yourself to see the awful things. It's right. Like, and it's helped me. It's, and there's not a whole lot of things on it. It's just like the big things. And just remembering that things like, I have a cat. I have 2 cats. Mm-hmm. I love my 2 cats. Mm-hmm. My 2 cats make me very happy. And like, just remembering that in the midst of like, a terrible day where my brain wants to tell me everything in life sucks. No, not everything in life sucks. No. And like, it
ain't a Limp Bizkit song.
It is. I'm saying all of these things out loud that are so incredibly obvious, but sometimes in the moment, your brain.
Yeah.
Goes off somewhere and takes you with it, and sometimes you kind of have to yank on the chain and be like, bro, I'm the one that's driving here.
Yes. When you talk about the positive list, when you say the world is not all roses and stuff, but like, it makes you think of the meme or the gif of the dog in the burning office.
This is fine.
Like, and I think what makes it fine, like that little small thing, he still has his coffee.
He does.
So that's the one positive thing. When he picks up his mug, this is fine. It looks like he's looking at the coffee, like he's happy to have that coffee, even though everything around him is burning. So he was able to take. So the way I see it, he has that one positive thing out of that whole like smorgasbord of destruction.
So. Here's something that's completely wild. You're probably the only person I've ever met that has a positive interpretation of that comic.
I just thought about it just now. Like,
good on you, buddy. That's exactly what the fuck we're talking
It's also
about.
positive because like every time I see it, I just laugh when people talk about dumpster fires of football, basketball teams and stuff. He's just like, hey, this is for example, this is Jameis Winston right now, right now after like 4 interceptions. This is fun. But yeah,
except his cup just has liquefied W's in it.
No,
he's gonna be drinking them. That's a W. Who wants a nice cup? I'll put sugar in it for you.
No, he's like, as Urinane Trias said, like he like famous Jameis Bakery because he serves up them hot and fresh turnovers.
It's true.
Now, but turnovers are pretty delicious though.
Yeah.
Like,
we should just have a podcast where we talk about food. I'm sure that'd be more popular anyway.
Like, you too.
Oh, that's an announcement. Back in the day, we used to do these social media check-ins, and then I stopped using social media. Announcement, if you aren't aware, there is a slight possibility that you might be listening to us on either Spotify or Google Play. Because man. Those are 2 platforms that our show is now on.
Dan vs. D, Sports and Stuff on Spotify.
Because I got bored one day and was like, I wonder how hard it is to get on some other podcasting platforms. And I did. So, there you go, people. You're welcome. We have now tripled our output. I think we're gonna wrap now, but thank you all for listening. It's been, as always, an absolute blast.
Yo, no doubt, man. Like, I know we've had like a lot of busy, like our lives have been like extremely busy and stuff. Like this month has been like the last month, like, oh, was just absolutely insane. The dust is starting to clear out from all that, and it's just like being an adult and trying to have a social life is like, it's hard.
You have like I have the gym and I have music and I have just maybe having a social life.
Yeah, it just becomes a balancing act.
I have to basically pick like one of those things to do in a given week, or just 1/3 of each of those things, and so they all just kind of end up perpetually kind of not what they could be.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like, but what can you do?
It's crazy, man.
You have to make money.
You gotta make money, and then like, I never realized
money.
Like, Hulu has live sports.
Hulu has live sports.
Where's my money bag? I said it, Hulu. Where's my money bag? And green's my favorite color? Dude, come on. Sign me up.
I'm wearing green right now. Hulu has live sports. Hulu has live sports. I'm just skin on skin, baby. Where's that paper?
Dude, you got 2 adorable cats. You could pull that off.
Yeah.
Dude.
I'm just holding 2 cats. Hulu has live sports.
And then it's just a money gun.
Also, Casper Mattress, Loot Crate, ZipRecruiter. No, I actually use ZipRecruiter.
What is like Linus's thing? Linus Tech Tips plug.
This week's sponsor, private internet access.
SeatGeek. I actually used one of them from Your Name Tree.
Yeah.
You use the word tree, you get $20 off your first purchase. I actually did that.
Dude, I think when I bought those NBA tickets earlier this year, I think I used a SeatGeek promo code.
For the Panthers and Titans game, I used that because I had StubHub. I was like, this gonna be more expensive. But then I went to SeatGeek. I was like, okay, I can get like about $20 cheaper, or be about the same price, but I can get better tickets. But yeah, on that note, this has been due to ease.
Dan with an AM. I wish I could just hug you all, but I'm not gonna.
Someday he will.
I'm gonna give the mic a hug right now.
It's not a hug, you just grabbed it with your hand.
That's what she said.
Dang. Anyways. Good night, everybody.
One more time. Good night, everybody.
Peace.